Thank you for staying with us here on Antigua Barbuda today. Local authors join us now to discuss the importance of creative writing. Let's welcome Barbara Arndell and Joanne Hillhouse. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And how are you doing?
Okay, so before we get into the importance of creative writing, let me ask, what is creative writing?
Okay, I think I'll let Joanne answer that one.
Creative, by definition, the expression of the original, the fresh, the unique, the dynamic in yourself and in
Here.
the world around you. Writing, putting pen to paper, putting fingers to keyboard. So, just like creating music, creating dance, creating paintings, creative writing is an expression of our souls in some way and the souls of our collective. And creative writing is fun. I didn't catch that. Can't hear you.
Unfortunately, we're not hearing you at all, but if you were asking more about the creative process, then I mean, in Antigua and Barbuda, we see the product of the creative process, just on the bookshelves, where we've had literally now probably, at one time it said dozens of writers published, but now it's probably getting towards the hundreds. But
I would
yeah,
also add, sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I would also add that one of the projects Barbara and I are both involved with is the Wadadli Youth Pen Prize. And one of the ways that we try to use that platform, like Barbara said, to nurture some of the products that we're seeing on the, because Wadadli Pen has been around since 2014, nurture some of the products that we're seeing on the shelves now by encouraging people to tell their stories. But also, it is therapeutic in a lot of ways. Last season, we did a look back at 2020, asking people to explore how they've been managing the past year and how they've managed to come through all the turmoil that we've been through. So, creative writing, to go back to your first question, is also a way of letting out all of the things that are dammed up inside of us.
Indeed. And I know that Barbara was here previously to speak about a summer camp which encouraged writing in the younger persons of our society. What is the importance of creating creative writing to them um, to write creatively in the young people here in Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, I think for the young people, especially, I think about my own creative writing journey and how, we go through that transition from childhood to teenhood to adulthood and how it can all be pretty confusing. And that creative writing for me was an avenue of expression and trying to understand the changes that were happening in me and in my perception of the world around me. So creative writing is also a way of expressing the things you don't understand about yourself or the things you're trying to figure out about the world. And so for young people to increase their ability to communicate their ideas and their ability to understand themselves and their ability to express everything that's in them, whether you become a writer or not, the ability to communicate is vital to life. So and the ability for written communication is just one part of that. And so for me, when I do workshops, it's not just for writers, although my current stream of workshops is focused on people who are working on projects and would like to see them through to completion. But when I work with young people, it's much simpler. It's about getting them to figure out what they think about the world and to begin to express and define themselves in that space.
And I would like to get some tips from the both of you on writing skills that could help aid in developing the skills of these young authors, these up and coming authors.
I
Let
think
Barbara start.
Okay, I think to start off, enjoying the process is perhaps the most important part. So, another person who's involved in creative writing workshops often says, just write. And that is in fact the starting point of it. Just write anything, just write everything, and just keep on writing. And then beyond that, I mean, both Joanne and I do regular writing workshops now. They're mainly via Zoom for obvious reasons. And you find people coming wanting to write all sorts of things as well. And so once you start to just write, you start to develop your own unique style and your own voice. And so in some ways in the beginning, yes, definitely get assistance if you can, and develop the bravery to share your work in safe spaces. And that's what our workshops provide: safe spaces where you're with other people like yourself who want to get some feedback, who are daring to do what they like to do. And so that's one of the keys, really. Find safe people, get feedback, and keep writing.
I think for me, realizing as well that that first draft is just that. It's a first draft, and it can be as messy as it wants to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is not for you to judge what you're creating as you're creating it. Let it be, let it breathe. But part of what I'm doing in my current stream of workshops is now when you come back to the work, how do you begin to edit it? How do you begin to redraft it? Because if you are serious about putting your work out into the world, that is going to be a part of the process. And one of the things I always encourage budding writers to do is to begin to think of putting their work out into the world, whether it's submitting to journals or contests, or beginning the process of starting to query longer works that they wish to publish. But before you get to that point, once you get past the just right, once you get past the let it breathe, it's beginning to dig into the work and refine it and begin to put it out into the world.
And finally, before you ladies go, I would like to ask, apart from being published, what other opportunities can these writers look forward to?
Oh, wow, it's limitless. I mean, for me, my life is far from perfect, but writing has taken me all over the world, for one thing. Writing has introduced me into spaces that I would not otherwise have been. I mean, just in the past year, I was in Colombia, via Zoom, but I was in Colombia at the Medellin Festival, sharing my poetry. I was in New York at the Langston Hughes Festival, dapping up one of our greats, Jamaica Kincaid. I was in Trinidad at Bocas doing a workshop on children's writing. I've had the opportunity to be in spaces and to explore spaces and to expand my world because of writing. And for me, it honestly began with reading. That's another thing I would encourage writers to do, is read and read a lot. Because reading began the process of showing me the rest of the world and different types of lives. So it opens up your world. That's what it does.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, Joan Hillhouse and Barbara Arundel, for joining me this morning and speaking to us about the importance of creative writing. I do hope that our audience take these tips into consideration and that our young authors go forth and develop their craft.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. Well, we have one more before we head out the door here this morning, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.